Fall is a special time of year in North Carolina because along with the beautiful autumnal foliage comes something even more beautiful, baby snakes. In today's video, we head out with some friends to try and find as many babies as possible. Of course though, the first thing that Spencer spotted was an invertebrate.
That right there, yeah, Chinese mantis, which is funny. You think it's a Chinese mantis. Is it invasive? Sort of. This is actually a species we consider to be naturalized. They've been here for so long, and they're not really disrupting the environment anymore. They've kind of become a part of it. So even though it's not native, praying mantises are one of my favorite insects because they're just so camouflaged and so cool looking, and they kind of like sit there and figure you out. You can see he's starting to like scan around, and honestly, he's probably thinking what plant is best for him to fly away onto, because he doesn't want to hang out with us. He wants to go back to hunting bugs in here. But we're out here looking for snakes, and even though this is very much not a snake, it's a very, very exciting thing to see.
Okay, we have the first snake of the day right here, and it is a stunning red belly snake. I actually haven't seen a red belly probably in 2 or 3 years at this point, and this is one of 2 different storaria that we get in North Carolina. We get red bellies and we get DKs Brown snakes, which are usually the way more common resident of urban areas. But both of these snakes, DKs Browns and the red belly like what we have here, are highly fossorial. So rarely will you ever find these exhibiting much above ground movement unless it's really nice conditions. And like this one we flipped under a log, and that's typically the kind of environment you'll find these in. Now this is a baby red-bellied snake, but the red belly, of course, check that out. That is a gorgeous red belly. Now there's lots of different color morphs. You get dark phases, gray phases, but this is a pretty classic red-bellied snake. Although that belly, I don't know if I've ever seen one with quite such a vibrant ventral scale hue there. Really, really cool. Now at maximum size, these guys are usually around 6 to 8 inches long, so they're still not huge, but this is an especially tiny one. So we're making sure we're being super gentle while we're working with this tiny snake. All right, Nathan, what's your opinion of this red belly snake?
Well, it's our first snake of the day, and my first red belly in the county we're in right now, so I'd say it's a pretty good find.
Spencer, your opinion?
It's my second ever red belly, and it's the first one of this color phase. Honestly, if I didn't see the belly, I would have thought it was just like a funny looking DKs. But I like it. It's a good snake. It gets, I gotta put my tripod down for this. It gets 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up?
But a hognose would get 4 thumbs up.
7 thumbs up.
Okay, look at this absolutely fearsome beast right here. This is actually a harmless baby DKs Brown snake. This, upon first glance, depending on your level of knowledge with snakes, might look kind of like a baby copperhead. There are some pretty easy identifying tips that you can use to tell a baby copperhead from other snakes. So if we look at this one, hopefully you can kind of see a little squiggly here, but you can see that the patterning is this kind of checkerboard. And then this individual also has a very distinctive neck band. We call that a nuchal band right here behind the head. Now, those 2 characteristics alone tell me this cannot be a copperhead, but if that wasn't enough, if we check out the tail here, and this might be the most obvious one, is actually the same color as the rest of the body. Whereas our baby copperheads, their tails are going to be a bright green or a yellow color. But DKs brown snakes are a harmless species. They're mostly eating invertebrates. They cannot do anything to harm you or your pets or your kids. I mean, really, copperheads aren't doing that much either, but these are a non-venomous species. Well, this is a cutie. I would say it's only a couple days old at the most. After you've held your first one, it's absolutely, completely addicting. Bye, little friend.
While I was satisfied with 2 adorable storaria and ready to call it a day, one of my good friends and fellow ecologists happened to be in town and wanted to try and track down her lifer eastern worm snake. So we headed to a spot with abundant artificial cover to try our luck as herping light dwindled.
Okay, what we've got here is a gorgeous little eastern worm snake. Now, worm snakes, even though they are pretty common fossorial snakes, are really, really cool. And they're called worm snakes for 2 reasons. For one thing, they kind of look like a worm. You've got this pink underbelly, kind of this purplish or dark brown dorsal coloration. The other thing is they primarily do actually eat earthworms. That makes up the vast majority of a worm snake's diet. Because as you can see, this is an adult and they are pretty small snakes. So they don't have lots of room to eat other food items, but also, conveniently enough, worms are about the same size as these snakes and they're pretty slimy. So that's basically the biggest thing that the snake could eat and digest. It means they could eat like 1 or 2 worms and be very, very full, as opposed to eating like a bunch of little ants or something like that and having to venture out from a safe place over and over and over again. Now, the vast majority of their lives is going to be spent burrowing underground, and they actually have a flattened head that helps them do that. Very tiny, diminutive eyes. They have very poor vision, but what they do have is a really great sense of smell, and they have lots of vibration sensitivity. So they can detect their prey either through vibration or by detecting the chemical trails that the worms leave behind. Now, to kill the worms, the end of their tail is actually super sharp. They have one scale at the end there that's modified into kind of like, I don't even know if you could call it a weapon, but a pokey thing, and they'll poke the worms with it. Super cute. They're kind of frantic. They'll move around a lot whenever you hold them, and they'll probably try and burrow into your hand, but there's nothing they can actually do to hurt you if you do find these in your garden or your yard. Okay, we're here with Allie. She's currently in possession of her life for worm snake. Allie, what's your opinion of the snake?
I think this snake is absolutely gorgeous, and that everyone should know more about this snake, because I didn't know it existed. And if I'd known that an iridescent snake like this existed, a pink snake actually, I would have tried to find this a lot sooner.
If you enjoyed today's lineup of tiny snakes, I think you'd also like to see the adorable southern hognose that we found a few months ago. Here's your sneak peek at the species that will be featured in the next episode of The Wild Report. I'll see you next time, but until then, stay curious and keep adventuring everywhere. This has been Zino of The Wild Report, signing out.